Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. So, back again with another interesting video, mainly for the Copilot Studio agent developers, and also the a little bit of the governance side, and importantly for the business who has been undergoing some building with respect to the studio agents. So, I'm sure you already seen this particular screen when you log into the Copilot Studio, says the new skin or the new experience there. And the very interesting bit which you need to observe is the GitHub Copilot, what is showing up on the screen. So this GitHub Copilot has been introduced as a default of new experience skin. And what happens if user uses this kind of agents creation? So you can see there, it uses the Copilot credits. That's what we are explaining in detail today. So why is this and what is the use of that one? In case if you want to go back to the previous in case if you want to wish to go back to the previous way of building those agents, then you can click on the option over here. You can see other ways to build the agents. You can probably click on that. All right. So without wasting any time, so let's have some quick slide presentation, and then I'll walk you through the demo as well. And what are the things you need to consider when you are trying to implement this. So there's a recent Microsoft update here that's called concept of Copilot harness. So what is this Copilot harness and uh, how does it apply for the Copilot Studio agents or even the Work IQ and the Copilot Cowork as well? So how does this harness concept work? So just imagine that harness is nothing but a small background service. So that which basically enables an agent to plan, reason, maintain context, and interact with the tools, systems, or other agents to complete the task. So it is nothing but a background processing agent for an agent you're developing it. So that basically handholds with all other services behind in the background, and then it does the various operations. The mainly thing which you need to understand is the how it is going to interact with the tools and other agents to complete your task. So depending on this outcome, so the harness concept has been dwelled very nicely. So you can see the how it is going to consume your credits and also the building process, how you can make sure or estimate the agent consumption for the period of date. So this is the Copilot Studio supports three harnesses today. So you got GitHub Copilot harness, a standard harness, and the Copilot chat harness. So GitHub Copilot harness, so today you have the new experience within the Studio agent. So if you want to have this feature enabled, then you need to configure the billing so that the agents can utilize the billing the billing configured, and then it can function without any problem. And if you have not completed those billing, then what happens, that also I'll walk through. And the standard harness is a normal rule-based conversation agent, so which you have today. So if you're not calling any sort of graph connectors or any other third-party data grounding into this agent, then it is purely a rule-based conversation agent. So if you're, for example, you have the topics and the Power App flows, if you're triggering any flows of such, then the standard harness, and with this won't be any cost. There won't be any cost for this one unless if you have got the person's consuming agent also has got the Copilot license. If not, it will consume from your credit pack, which you have for the tenant exclusively, or which you by default you get for a tenant like 25,000 credits per month. So it will consume from that in case if your users are not using the Copilot license. For the developers, they need the development license. So if you're using the standard harness, then there is no impact for your organization. So when I say there's no impact, if you have got the enough Copilot credits that can be consumed for the non-Copilot licensed users for the agent that's being developed, so you don't have to worry about it. The only thing which you need to worry is the if the development team or the developers are utilizing the GitHub Copilot harness. So I'll walk through end to end how and how is this advantage as well to the organization and what you need to consider in case if you want to allow this as well. And another one is a Copilot chat harness. So in case, for example, the co-work is the best option here. So if you are using the co-work, then you see there's a lot of actions on top of the context. You can even take the actions which you can leverage. So that uses the Copilot chat harness and that consumes your credit as well. So if in case if you wanted to use those kind of features, then you can probably have the credit enabled so that the co-work works very well. Right. So we'll have a little bit overview of what is this Copilot credits, what is this change all about, and what are the options we got in Copilot Studio, etc. So the Copilot credits today we have various, and this Microsoft, there's a lot of developments being happening, and we have to upskill as well as adopt these changes. There's no other choice until and unless you feel that okay, there is something you need to stop doing it. Well, what are these Copilot credits? So commonly currency for AI workloads with Microsoft ecosystems. You can have a two better models. So pay as you go, the pay model, and this was 1 cent per credit, which is appears to be cheap, but when it multiplied with the the number of operations, then that becomes a huge. And there's another one which Microsoft recently introduced is a pre-purchase plan that's essentially called as P3. So we'll also have a look into it. What is this P3 and how it's an additional SKU, how you can add it to the tenant, and how is the discount calculated for those. So basically, it comes with a bundle of credit pack, and you can assign to the tenant, and then you can start using those credits as well for the Copilot Studio agents. So harness options in Copilot Studio, which we just walked through the GitHub Copilot standard and the Copilot chats. I'll directly jump into the way to manage and cost expectations and billing. So if your agents are developed by a GitHub Copilot harness, then make sure you have got the creation cost, the runtime cost, and the standard or chat lower consumption. So there is always a creation cost and the runtime cost, which I will quickly give you the demo on that as well. So this is a quick classification. So if you are using if you are allowing the GitHub Copilot harness, then what it leverages for your development is the end-to-end agent workflows, like autonomous. So where you can have the agent answer on behalf, multi-step task, so multi-agent orchestration, high credit consumption. So this is something you need to bear in mind that the multi-step task, which you can also do it through the standard harnessing, but the difference here is there it triggers based on the flow, right? But here the based on the conversation flow. So here the you can trigger the other task, for instance the power app or any other flow. So then you can make use of this, and also the actions you take on top of it. For example, you wanted to save the response from the customer or the to into any of the databases, then this GitHub Copilot harness come into the picture as well. So they consume high credit consumption, and how it can be calculated, I have that calculated too for you. The standard harness is a rule-based conversation flow. So scripted agent, low credit consumption. So if you're where your bot just answers based on the backend conversation flow, like hi, hello, and then you got the different specific query, specific answer, then you can go with the standard harness. There is no additional cost if you have got a Copilot license for everyone. And the Copilot chat harness. So in case if you're extending your agent to utilize any additional knowledge source. So this is important to note. If you are utilizing any additional knowledge source, being a SharePoint uh, or any other grounding, then you think of using the Copilot chat harness, which means that you need to purchase the additional credit for such agents. Now, if you have got any agents that is working today as expected, then when is that change going to happen? So we will see that as well. So this is a quick again brainstorming of harness differences. So this is a P3, as we spoke about the two models. So one is the PG and the second one is the P3 model, or you can pre-purchase the plan. And these are your Copilot credits, what you get for the each P3 plan. So this is again from the enterprise billing perspective, this is an additional SKU which you can add it to the tenant and start adding the Copilot credits based on the consumption calculator or the estimator. These discounts are the public, but we reality depends on the how the negotiations between the two organizations happen. But in general, you have the other option too. Without, if you don't want to go for the PG model, you can have this P3 plan as well, which is safe side if you ask me, because instead of having an into an unattended mode, you can have some control over these billing. So this is again Copilot chat harness, or if you're also using the Copilot co-work, just a quick illustration of how this Copilot co-work will get a build, and then you can multiply with the number of users, and you can take the number of credit it's going to consume, and based on that, the P3 plan can be updated as well. So let's have a scenario where you have an a prompt which is injected by the customer, or sorry, for your end user here. So for my upcoming customer meeting with Adatum, analyze my interactions based on the relevant emails, meeting notes, CRM updates, and support incidents to identify deal status, risk, and competitive threats. So this is the prompt technique. So he is basically giving the role, and also he is also giving a context, and also he is performing some evaluation there. So creating a brief document and client ready presentations covering our different opportunities and next steps. So you can see the various parts here, the context and the tools and the runtime. So runtime is the operations cycle. So all this one, two, three, four, what you see on the screen consumes the credit. And how much credit it's going to consume, we have that calculated too. So if you are having the Copilot co-work being enabled in your tenants, so make sure you have the enough credits. Always get asked whether if the Copilot license is already there with me, do I still be charged for the Copilot co-work access? The answer is yes. You should have the Copilot credits before using the co-work. So this is your estimate calculator for the co-work. So determine the number of users and estimate the number of prompts per persona. And yes, this is dynamic. I agree where the number of prompts per persona might differ. So that's where you have a control of whom to enable this Copilot co-work, being an executives or specific department. So make sure you enable the Copilot co-work for the certain set of personas, so that you are having a tight control of this co-work. If you're not sure about how to control this co-work option, I have my video in my description, which is linked to this how to control or hide this co-work for the organization. Apply an average price per prompt, and then you have estimated monthly Copilot credit for the spend. So this is your estimator for the Copilot co-work. So quick recap of this Copilot Studio billing summary, and how do I enable this, and a quick demo of that is right now on your screen. So this is the Copilot Studio window when I log into the Copilot Studio.Microsoft, and you can see there is the new experience being turned on. So if by default the new experience is turned on, and this is what they get, so they have this Copilot. Let me increase the font. So you see this GitHub Copilot comes by default, and also the workflows. Yes, the workflow always uses the GitHub Copilot, and you can take that as a simple difference between the standard and the GitHub. Well, even though it says the celebrating icon here or emoji, for the admins or for the organization is to understand the pain. Yeah, it's a pain to understand what's happening in this agent era. If you've got existing agents and they are using the GitHub Copilot or transitioning to credit pricing, agents created before August 3rd will remain on the credit pricing model until September 1st. So post September 1st, there is the automatic update of those agents if they are standard and they are using the GitHub Copilot functions like the workflows, or which you saw, for example, using the SharePoint as a background source, and then any actions being taken. Um, apart from the standard harnessing. So this will start consuming the credits. So how do I understand if I am on the standard and stuff? So you can click on the agents in the new screen when using the new experience as an admin to the a particular environment. So when I say environment, you can click on this and you can see your environment here. So make sure you verify those on each environments, and you can click on the agents here. The enterprise organization, so you get an additional column here stating the type of agent. So that will be standard and the GitHub. So you can log into your enterprise organization window and you can see the various type of agents being developed, the GitHub, the Copilot harness, and the standard harness. So make sure if anything is GitHub harness, you communicate to the agent owners or probably take a decision of how to hold it until you have the billing configured for that. So in case if you forgot to do the billing, it will definitely start consuming these credits. Or if your credit is not, I mean, if your billing is not configured, then it might the agent might stop working post the September 1st. So how do I configure the billing? So you can log into the Power App Admin Center with the admin privilege. Click on the new billing plan. Click on Azure subscription. So name your plan, for example, the Copilot, GitHub, Harness. So once you have this configured, and if you have got any Azure subscription, you need actually an Azure subscription to link to here. I don't have anything to link it here, so I'll just give you the demo of what is that Copilot, where do you can uh, well, I'll just give you the quick demo of where do you select that option of Copilot. So you can click on this meter. You have this option called Copilot Studio. So that needs to be turned on, and you can remove this Windows 365 for agents. Those are the basically an autonomous agents that run on the operating systems or the agents if you are installing as a package. So this is the Copilot Studio. So I just selected the Copilot Studio, and you have these two things turned on. So this will start consuming the billing for both GitHub as well as the uh, another Copilot credits. And if your organization has got a P3 plan, will that consume from there? No. So co-work will consume from the P3, but not the GitHub. So you also have this quick guide, which is provided by the Microsoft. You can go to those GitHub harness, and you can also see the calculator, Copilot Studio licensing guide. So you can click on that. And I have put all these links into my I have put all these links in my LinkedIn post, so you can have a look into it as well. In case if you have any queries, I'm reachable on my email ID, and I can connect you offline for that. Right, so this gives you the very detailed description or the classification between the Microsoft Copilot Studio, when it will be consuming the credits versus not consuming the credits. So you can have it go through, which I have covered in detail in the previous slides. So if you scroll down a little, then the entitlements, we just want to go for the billing. So you have this option, Microsoft Copilot Studio PG, and the plan 3, and the pre-purchase plan 3, credit, Microsoft Agent pre-purchase, plan 3. Right. So you have 4 options to purchase the Copilot credits. So one is a Microsoft PG, which we have already demonstrated, and this is what you configure over the Power App Admin Center, and this will also links to those GitHub RNS as well. So if your organization has so additional billing that is been configured for the GitHub Copilot, for example, not forget about the agents, studio agents, about the GitHub Copilot being used, and under the GitHub Admin Center if they have got this uh, billing enabled. So will it consume there? Answer is no, because the studio exclusively will start consuming from these purchasing plan only. So you have got these option one, Copilot credits, and the second one is the pre-purchase plan, which I talk about, the P3 one. Another interesting one, if you have just got for the agent, you have another SKU called Agent Pre-Purchase Plan 3, so which you can use it for the specific agents like Studio and a Microsoft Foundry, and you can link to those agents directly, which is good. We can you can definitely give it a try. And the last one is the Microsoft Capacity Pack. So this is which we normally have it today, where you get the 25,000 Copilot credits, or you can add it on demand, how your organization scale up. Well, that's all I have for today. And yeah, the Copilot harness is a very interesting topic. And already the organization started developing the agents. Now it is very critical for the billing admin as well as the business to understand the utilization. So Microsoft has been updating this very clearly that the agent consumption is a separate than the Copilot license. What specifically gives the Copilot license is for the standard user perspective, right? So it has got its own functionality, so we can't club that with the studio. So you cannot club that with the agent operation. So that's where you have this distinct classification for these agent utilization and the agent billing. It's very hard to have these kind of updates from Microsoft, but yeah, having separate or dedicated billing for those agents gives us a bit of understanding of how much credits or how much it actually consume per agent, so that you can do the cross charge if it is a specific department, or if it is the you can take an action based on the scalability, and also understand derive the productivity based on the outcome of the that agent consumption. Well, let me know your thoughts, and hope to see you again with a new another interesting video. Till then, take care.